Hello, my name is Manuel Ignacio Ayala Chauvin, professor at the Universidad, Tecnológica, Indoamérica from Ecuador. The topic that I will explain is the evaluation of the energy autonomy of the urban areas as a tool to advance the renewable energy transition. The index is 1. Introduction, 2. Method for energy diagnosis or evaluation, 3. Analysis of the electrical consumption, 4. Analysis of the renewable generation, 5. Results of the evaluation of the energy autonomy, and finally, conclusions. 1. Introduction. This is the location of Ecuador in the world, here, and here is Galapagos, part of Ecuador. The case study that we will analyze is from Loja, Ecuador, located south. One reason why I carry out the research is because the wind farm is close. The wind farm is close to the city. Therefore, the generation of the wind farm covers directly the consumption of the city. In this case, the city is a real laboratory of study renewable energies. In the figure shows the heights and temperatures of the study area. This study area, for example, Loja, located at 2,100 meters and temperatures 15 to 17 degrees Celsius. And Billonaco Wind Farm is located at 2,700 meters, and Catamayo, this other city, is located at 1,000 meters with temperatures 25 to 13 degrees Celsius. There is a temperature differential between Loja and Catamayo that makes the wind go in one direction, east, which is ideal for the wind power generation. This differential of temperature approximately 10 degrees, and the wind go in this direction. Now, the method have three parts. First part is definition of the study area. After this, analyze to the electric consumption and renewable generation or remuneration, the proximity remuneration. After this, to compare and contrasting the electrical consumption and renewable generation. This compare or contrasting is in order to determine the coverage percentage of the wind farm. Now, the first part of the methodology is analysis of the electrical uses. This is the first part. We will first analyze electrical uses in this format. Analysis the segregated measurements were carried out for each user, obtaining the classification based on consumption and type. For example, in this figure, you can see the residential consumption and classification in order to the power consumption, the high power and low power consumptions. The second part is the aggregate measurements. We also made at the substation level. The city has 4 substations. The first substation covered this area, the other this area, and the other substation covered this area. All the measurements is taken in the feeders, and after this integrate all. And you can see in this graph, in this figure, you can see the consumption of the city. This information you can calculate the urban demand of the city. And this curve allows us to analyze the possible strategies to flatten the consumption peak, per example. And you can see in the other the statistical information of the days of the week. Basically, you can see energy consumption is the 156,000 megawatts or approximately in 1 year. Partial conclusions. Georeferenced maps with the electrical usage of the urban area of Loja were generated using RStudio software. Customers were classified based on the rates: residential, commercial, industrial, senior citizens, and efficient cooking. And finally, the consumption is visualized and the big consumers are identified. This will give us a special vision of the system and will allow us to develop comprehensive management strategies. Now, the second part of the study is the analysis of the power generation, renewable power generation. The measurements of the Villonaco wind farm were carried out at the substation level. You can see the measurements of the wind, and you can see the measurements in the substation. From these measurements carried out from 1 year, it can be concluded that the wind farm has a capacity factor 60% and energy production 87,000 megawatts hour approximately in 1 year. Here the generation gaps are shown because there is no wind. There is no wind, and this is the very complex problem when you don't have support in order to recover this. In order to recover this consumption. Now, partial conclusions. Generation matches the 3 weather seasons of Loja region with one rainy period is summer and autumn. This is one period. Cool, dry period is winter, and warm, dry period is the spring. The 2 seasons is very similar, and after this is the wind and spring. Now, this is important data that is not obvious. This will allow making prediction with more accuracy in each period. Now, 5. Evaluation of the energy autonomy. This is the results of this research. To evaluate the autonomy of the city, the direct coverage of the wind power plant was determined. For this data is necessary synchronized in the series times. And this information, you can calculate the deficit surplus. Finally, it was determined that the Villonaco wind farm covers directly 62% of the consumption of Loja. Now, you can see the consumption, you can see the generation, not all the generation covered directly. 90% approximately covered directly, it represents 62% of the consumptions. Now, finally, the method is flexible and can be adapted to the territorial scale. It's an orderly, user-free software and therefore is inexpensive to implement using an RStudio. 3 climate periods were determined that will serve for the planning and prediction of the generation, and the wind farm generation can directly supply 62% of the electricity needs of the urban area. And finally, in one scenario when you can doubling the capacity of the wind farm results in a 74% direct coverage. Therefore, in addition to increase the capacity of the plant, it's necessary to implement energy saving and efficiency programs. Thank you very much for your attention.